Weakness masquerading as strength. Hear Newsom's blistering speech on Trump as LA protests persist. Let's go ahead and jump into this immediately. We'll comment throughout it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I want to go in and listen to Governor Gavin Newsom.
What's happening right now is very different than anything we've seen before.
Okay.
On Saturday morning, when federal agents jumped out of an unmarked van near a Home Depot parking lot, they began grabbing people, a deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb.
Had nothing to do with these, like specifically the fact that it's a heavily Latino suburb. I think everyone knows. I mean, it's a running joke. It's pretty much, what everyone knows. So you go to Home Depot if you need someone to do something, some type of cheap labor. The majority of the individuals that are there trying to do these jobs are absolutely, in fact, not legal. Generally, like on average, like if I know it, okay, and you listening probably knows it. That's probably the reason why they specifically targeted that specific location.
They began grabbing people, a deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb. A similar scene played out when a clothing company was raided downtown. In other actions, a U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested. A 4-year-old girl taken. Families separated. Friends, quite literally, disappearing. In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And
2
with
hours
some
later,
exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no stranger to this sort of unrest. We manage it regularly and with our own law enforcement. But this, again, was different. What then ensued was the use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets.
Okay, guys, here's the thing here, my opinion so far, at least. When it comes down to why Trump would have done this, I mean, you can listen to just how he's kind of depicting the events here. All he's doing is trying to pull on your heartstrings here. The reality of the situation is, when you go to Home Depot, you could find someone that's going to do something for basically nothing because they're not legal. They've been kind of scoping out the locations where they targeted. They would not have gone through with anything if they didn't have any like actual proof of super terrible things happening. Now, when it comes down to the National Guard, guys, I'm not a I don't understand. When it comes down to like federalizing the National Guard, that's tricky. But also at the same time, listen to how he's speaking, because like you could tell that he was going to do nothing at all, not a single thing at all, to actually assist or aid in removing, illegal immigrants from the United States of America. He was completely fine. He's completely complicit. He should probably be charged with harboring. That's kind of where I'm at when it comes down to the individuals that are trying to specifically hide people within the country that they know they know are not legal. They're not legal. But his opinion is, hey, listen, how dare they do their job? All right.
Illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people,
There's truth
our
in that.
officers, and even our National Guard at risk. That's when the downward spiral began. He doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose.
Oh, yeah?
As the news spread throughout LA, anxiety for family and friends ramped up. Protests started again. By night, several dozen lawbreakers became violent and destructive. They vandalized property. They tried to assault police officers. Many of you have seen the video clips of cars burning on cable news.
Oh, you can't deny that now,
violence, right? I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account.
But so you're gonna hold those people to account, but not the people who are in the country illegally, bro. Listen, I'm not a fan of this man, bro. I'm just gonna be honest here. He just seems to kind of pick and choose which laws he wants to actually follow. It seems. Right? I'm guessing the ones that are like visually, optically as disturbing to the masses. Those are the ones where he wants to, basically, follow suit with, let's say. But when it comes down to the entire nation, basically voting a president into office specifically so he can remove the illegal immigrants, bro, come on, bro. All right, I don't like this man.
If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account. That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated. Full stop.
Right, only certain
Already
criminal
more than
behavior.
220 people have been arrested, and we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Right, but if they're here illegally, they'll just be let out on like dollar bonds, right?
Again, thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. But that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. He federalized another 2,000 Guard members. He deployed more than 700 active U.S. Marines. These are the men and women trained for foreign combat, not domestic law enforcement. We honor their service. We honor their bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces. Not in LA, not in California.
Not anywhere. Not anywhere. See, this is where we're probably going to align. Interestingly, here, I absolutely do not like the concept of any of our military, specifically being used on like our soil. The National Guard, we can kind of work around if that makes any sense. When we start talking about Marines, what are they here for? The Insurgency Act is an intriguing one, absolutely, but I'm just not a super fan of that ever happening here. We do not need to consistently set precedents that the Democrats will absolutely, in fact, use and utilize against protests that they deem are not emotionally, those make them feel good, basically, right? So if you set the precedent now, then what happens when they take office? They're just going to be like, oh, how dare you say you don't agree with this specific niche ideology.
Not anywhere. We're seeing unmarked cars in school parking lots, kids afraid of attending their own graduation.
Why?
Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength. Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities. They're traumatizing our communities. And that seems to be the entire point. California will keep fighting. We'll keep fighting on behalf of our people, all of our people, including in the courts. Okay. Just yesterday, we filed a legal challenge to Donald Trump's reckless deployment of American troops to a major American city. Today, we sought an emergency court order to stop the use of the American military to engage in law enforcement activities across Los Angeles. If some of us could be snatched off the streets without a warrant, based only on suspicion or skin color.
When you say us, do you mean citizens or non-citizens?
Then none of us are safe. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people who are least able to defend themselves, but they do not stop there. Trump and his loyalists, they thrive on division because it allows them to take more power and exert even more control. And by the way, Trump, he's not opposed to lawlessness and violence as long as it serves him. What more evidence do we need than January 6th? Ask everyone. Take time, reflect on this perilous moment. A president who wants to be bound by no law or constitution, perpetuating a unified assault on American traditions. This is a president who in just over 140 days has fired government watchdogs that could hold him accountable for corruption and fraud. He's declared a war on culture, on history, on science, on knowledge itself. Databases, quite literally, are vanishing. He's delegitimizing news organizations, and he's assaulting the First Amendment. And the threat of defunding them, at threat, he's dictating what universities themselves can teach. He's targeting law firms. And
I don't agree with that. Like, listen. So again, I'm not a diehard Trump person, bro. I wouldn't have voted for him if that makes any sense. If Kamala Harris wasn't running, let's just be honest here. That's just what it is here. The thing is that guys, when it comes down to it, I just don't like the Democrat Party. Like I don't like how he speaks is so. He says weakness masquerading as strength. He just exudes nothing but weakness. Right. I look at him, I hear him speaking, and he just feels weak. And so he'll never grab me. Him or his party, they'll never grab me. I think they've lost me pretty much indefinitely until they start, I don't know, bro. Stop this, whatever this is. Trump has some issues, guys. No one is perfect. But I don't think that him trying to kind of do what is best specifically for the country is the issue. Specifically doing exactly what he was voted into office for.
And the judicial branch that are the foundations of an orderly and civil society. He's calling for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason than to, in his own words, for getting elected. And we all know this Saturday. He's ordering our American heroes, the United States military, and forcing them to put on a vulgar display to celebrate his birthday, just as other failed dictators have done in the past. Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment
your version of it
feared has arrived.
Oh yeah.
He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project. 3 co-equal branches of independent government. There are no longer any checks and balances. Congress is nowhere to be found. Speaker Johnson has completely abdicated that responsibility. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don. The founding fathers, they didn't live and die to see this kind of moment. It's time for all of us to stand up. Justice Brandeis, he said it best. In a democracy, the most important office, with all due respect, Mr. President, is not the presidency, and it's certainly not governor. The most important office is office of citizen. At this moment, we all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your First Amendment rights, please, please do it peacefully. I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear, but I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
That was a blistering speech there from the California Governor Gavin Newsom, responding after days of back and forth between his state and Los Angeles specifically, and the White House and President Trump, including comments that the president has made saying that if he was his border czar, he would have Governor Newsom arrested, something that the governor there invoked as he was essentially referencing not only what we've been seeing play out in Los Angeles, which he was plenty critical of, including Trump bypassing the governor there to deploy the National Guard, also sending hundreds of Marines to Los Angeles. He also invoked the fact that he had implied having him arrested, the president's upcoming military parade that he's having here in Washington, his fight with Harvard, and he warned other states in that speech that, quote, other states are next. He said that Donald Trump is not opposed to lawlessness, and he invoked what happened on January 6th. He also addressed what we've been seeing play out.
Okay, so it just seems like she's just regurgitating what we just encountered. When it comes down to Gavin Newsom, I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of, I'm just not a fan of him. I don't like what he represents generally, right? It has nothing to do with, anything, in my life at least, specifically, right? So I would never vote for him. I also think that he has the right, and to say what he's saying here. That is his state. He was superseded. State rights in itself were completely ignored in this context here, guys. That's why a lawsuit's going to happen, and they're going to win. But this is going to stop while the lawsuit's going on. You can almost guarantee that here, right? He's trying to make excuses for him deciding what laws he actually wants to follow here, and I find that absolutely troubling. Guys. Like, listening to him just basically enrages me, because it's like, ugh, this is why you guys are losing. Like you represent why you're losing, because you're going to keep losing. And this is it. And I heard that he was trying to like run for president, or he was being asked to run for president in some manner. But I can't imagine why they would want to do that, specifically coming from the Democrat Party. It just doesn't make any sense why they would choose him of all people. But I mean, it does a little bit, right? It does a little bit. But I think they're probably going to try to run Kamala Harris, or I don't know, Hillary Clinton, probably. I don't know. That's kind of what that's kind of how that works out there, guys, on that side right now. But all right, guys, listen, let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is a very frustrating encounter here. I have no problem with encountering people who have different ideologies, guys. It's not a thing. For me, my wife sometimes has a very different ideology. She's from Europe, so she believes differently, different things. It's completely fine. I have no issues here. But this was, I don't know, bro. It's hard to specifically encounter like this type of person, bro. I'm just gonna be honest. Be honest here. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.